Hey everyone, in this video we want to talk to you about what we would consider to be a very healthy way to move forward from a fight that you might have had with a significant other or even with a friend or a coworker. And this is kind of like the steps to resolution, so to speak. So when the event happens, tensions are high, emotions are taking control, you don't have much prefrontal cortex activity going on, so you need to let that pass. You need to let the emotions be in motion and fleet away. They're fleeting. Yep. And so once they go away, then the first thing you need to do is you need to talk to your partner or whoever it was you had the altercation with. And when you talk to them, you need to both express your viewpoints and share your perspectives about what happened. Because everything that happens in life happens through your lens, your eyes, your senses. You can't change that. We can only ever experience things through our own personal reality. That's why it's important to let people express their reality, because everyone's reality is going to be different. You could have a fight with someone and you have a narrative crafted in your head about what happened, but they have their own narrative too, because
and the truth usually lies somewhere in between those narratives.
Yeah, the truth is usually somewhere in the middle. And so it's important that you express your perspective on the situation, and it's important that the other person expresses their perception of the situation. And then you both need to use that as an opportunity to either empathize or validate one another. And validation does not mean you need to agree with what they're saying. It just means that you need to understand where they're coming from.
And you need to communicate that with them too.
Yeah.
You need to say, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Or I hear you.
Yes.
That's another one.
Yes, excellent. And, in a lot of these situations, you're not going to agree on the exact, whatever happened. You're not going to usually agree on it, because our brains like to have someone be at fault.
Yep.
And that's okay.
It simplifies things in our brain.
What's important is that you just acknowledge that the event happened and you acknowledge that you both were hurt by it. Okay? And then so once you've done, so once you've done that, it's important to talk about the triggers. Like, what was it in the event that truly upset you? What was it? Because whatever upset me might not have been the same thing that upset Brianna. And so it's important figuring out, what was the trigger? What was it that upset you? Because maybe I got upset at something she did, and then she got upset not because of anything I did, but maybe she just got upset because she started feeling overwhelmed because I started yelling at her and getting very flustered. And so it wasn't actually any event, so to speak, on my part that upset her. It was the way that I reacted to whatever she did that upset me. And that's what upset her. And so then maybe the takeaway from knowing that trigger is that, okay, I need to be better about responding to situations rather than reacting to them. It could be things like that, or maybe, it's a different set of triggers. But the point is, everyone has the trigger that was the thing that upset them. And it's important that you express that.
Yeah, and I think everyone should work on their own triggers, because if you have that many triggers going off all the time, it's in your own responsibility to address them, not your partner's, to walk on eggshells to ensure they don't trigger you.
Yeah, agreed completely. But to play off that too, and using that first example I gave, it's also about, if I overreact to a situation and that flusters Brianna and gets her upset, it's not just that she needs to work on herself. It's literally that is also something that I need to work on. Remember, you're in a relationship. It's a team thing. Yep. Neither person should feel.
But I think that a lot of times this gets confused with people, and we've had this discussion a lot, where they think they can control the other person's actions. And so I approach these things a little bit different than, I'll explain what bothered me, but after that, it's on them to either change, see something wrong, or not. And when I was younger, it would trigger me and I'd get upset, like really upset. But now at this point, when someone does something like that, like, you don't really ever explode, so these examples are not realistic to me. If someone was to freak out on me, I would probably just go for a walk and remove myself from the situation, and I would not really get overly emotional about that because I have trained myself to respond where I don't have that trigger. Even if people freak out, I told myself I cannot control them. Yeah. I cannot control their responses. I will tell them it was disrespectful and state my boundaries. But after that, like, it's on them.
Yeah, I think that's great insight. And so speaking of being on them, number 4 is, or 3, whatever, is that you need to take personal responsibility. Your ego is not going to like it because they want to cast blame onto others. But fights like almost never happen just because of one instance. There's fault on both ends.
Yeah, and it's usually built up like you're saying.
Yeah. And so it's just simply acknowledging when you're talking to the other person. It can go a really long ways if you just straight up call yourself out.
Yeah, and have some humility.
Yeah.
We both are pretty good about that.
Yeah, it really helps de-escalate too.
Well, yeah, and it circumvents a lot of like issues in our relationship. Like you're saying, yeah, I screwed up. Like, I'm sorry, that was dumb.
I know what I did. This is what I did. Like, I recognize it. And I'm going to work to not do that in the future. And then
the other person doesn't go on the defense automatically.
Yes, exactly. And then the last one is to talk about resolution. Like, in the future, how can we avoid these problems happening? Or if it's something that can't be avoided for whatever reason, how can we better
navigate
it the next time it does occur? And so that's kind of the quick and dirty way of how we think it's appropriate to resolve conflict and move on from it. Yep. Be it with your partner especially, but even friends, family, and coworkers.
Yeah, if you don't come to a conclusion about the conflict, that's usually where you're upset about it 2 months later. So yes. I always try to have closure with my conflicts, like, no matter what.
Yep, 100%. So awesome. If you like this content, then great. That's what we're trying to do. And if you know someone who you think that this information would help, then share a video with them.
Thanks.
Bye.